Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from LA. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharpe on his way to the Hall of Fame. Good morning, guys.
I knew you weren't in the Hall of Fame yet. That's what I knew. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Skip, I ain't up for no bull jiving this morning.
Really?
David Griffin got, Skip,
You know what?
It's about to get ugly.
LeBron is having a tough week because we all know the number one Cowboy fan is LeBron James, right? So his Cowboys are in salary cap calamity with Zeke and Dak and Amari. And now this happens to LeBron?
Good.
He's having a rough ride, man.
Kind of a good point. I hadn't thought about his Cowboys.
This might be a little worse than what the Cowboys have going on right now.
You guys are setting me up perfectly. We have a lot to get to on today's show. Plenty to do with the Cowboys. Are things getting ugly between Zeke and Jerry? And is Dak a man on a mission? But we will start with everything going on with LeBron. So we thought he had a good relationship with his former Cavs GM, David Griffin, but probably not anymore. Griffin told Sports Illustrated that he was miserable working with LeBron in Cleveland. He added, quote, literally the moment we won the championship, I knew I was going to leave. There was no way I was going to stay for any amount of money. Griffin also said about LeBron, quote, I don't think he's the same animal anymore about winning. After the article was released, LeBron tweeted this. All right. Enough is enough. The throne has been played with too much, and I ain't for horseplay. Ether coming soon. Shannon, do you have a problem with David Griffin's comments?
I absolutely have a problem with it. And Skip, we know David Griffin is telling a bold-faced lie. He was in contract negotiations to try to re-sign on as being the president of basketball operations with the Cleveland Cavaliers before David Griffin says, I'm not giving you a penny more than what I'm offering you. And then he took his name out of the running. So for him to say he was not coming back for any amount of money is a lie. And Skip, you know that is a lie because it went up to the 18th hour before he finally walked away because because Dan Gilbert would not give him a penny more. Skip, miserable. There is no context for miserable. You can't be taken out of context for miserable. Skip, on the way over here, I was going through my mind. I'm trying to think. I'm like, okay, miserable. Does it mean what I think it means? Skip, and I got a couple of definitions. It says being in a pitiable state, causing extreme discomfort or unhappiness. Skip.
I did not
know
that.
Beyond.
That's news to me.
Skip. No, Skip. These last two what got me, Skip. These last two what got me. Goes way beyond sad. Absolutely awful.
True.
Skip, you're in contention.
Yes.
Skip, you're in contention to win a title every single year. And you're miserable. Even though Kevin Durant says winning a title did not give me the peace, the happiness that I thought it would, he never said he was miserable. Skip, David Griffin is one of these guys, Skip, he doesn't want the expectations. He's in an ideal situation right now. Because, Skip, if he goes 40 and 42, he goes 35 and 47, he misses the playoffs, no harm, no foul. The thing that LeBron James, what these players have now, Skip, is that they have power, and the power that they have is signing 1, 2, 3-year deals. Therefore, they're able to keep their foot on the necks of the organization to make sure that there is no lapse in competing for a title. David Griffin, when you did not re-sign or what you got fired, basically, to make a long story short, LeBron James tweeted, Griff, I appreciate what you did, even if no one else does. Last week, when your wife opened up a winery or whatever she opened up, LeBron James tweeted, were you miserable then? Skip, you remember he used to go on NBA TV and talk about how LeBron James had brought into the culture, how LeBron James, you need guys like LeBron James if you want to compete. And now you go get on Woj podcast and you talk about you miserable? Skip, there have only been a handful of guys in NBA history that every year they suit up, the expectation is titles. LeBron James is one of those guys. We know Michael Jordan was one of those guys. We know Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. They've only been a handful. that every year the expectation is title or it's nothing. And for David Griffin, all of a sudden now, the very reason you have a job is because of LeBron James. Can you imagine, Skip Bayless, had he not come in contact with LeBron and won a title, he'd have been Dale Demps. Let's see how soon Dale Demps get another job. David Griffin, be careful now. Be careful. LeBron James, don't go ether on him. Rise above this. Look, he's probably going to come out with a situation and say, look, there are a lot of people saying some things about me. I like to think that I was this, yada, yada, yada. But don't worry about it. I got this today. Let me pull the hammer out and bash David Griffin over his head. I want you to stay away from the fray.
I am loving listening to you try to talk yourself through this because this was a stunner. And here's my bottom line takeaway. The king just got stabbed in the back by a trusted friend and a former colleague whom LeBron endorsed and continued to endorse just a couple of weeks ago when he endorsed the wife's
You're right.
wine venture.
Winery.
Right?
Yes.
This is, you love to refer to the Julius Caesar play by Shakespeare. This is Julius Caesar come to life because Brutus, the trusted friend, stabbed Julius right in the back when Julius least expected it because this is a shocker, man. I did not see this coming, and I guarantee you LeBron didn't, and Rich Paul didn't, and Maverick Carter and that inner circle did not see this coming because David Griffin just assassinated the basketball character of the king. That's what he did. He attacked all things LeBron internally, and the point is, David did, and again, you can argue about how good he would be without LeBron. He was an up-and-coming, rising sort of star as a GM figure. Did it help to have? Obviously, it did. Do I think David Griffin can stand on his own as a GM? Well, we're about to see because he has the makings of something pretty special in New Orleans. So we'll see how that pans out from here on. But I do like the start he got in New Orleans. It helped that he hit the lottery, so he got really lucky right out of the box. But the point is, he worked very closely with LeBron, and the point he made in the Sports Illustrated interview was, LeBron would listen to me. I was the only one who could talk to him man to man. I could tell him what needed to happen, as in I could be critical of LeBron to LeBron, and he responded very well to my criticism. Like, we need to do this because you need to do that.
And then Skip, and then you go and betray the man's trust?
Okay. But he does come with some credibility because he is highly respected around the league. And remember, he also speaks firsthand because he just traded for 3 young players who spent a year in L.A. with LeBron, trying to coexist in LeBron's realm in L.A., Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart. So and I know that David Griffin has heard the stories from those 3 young Lakers about how hard it was to coexist in LeBron's altitude last year in LA. And maybe they co-signed on the fact that he's not the animal he once was when it comes to winning. He doesn't, go ahead.
Skip, you covered Michael Jordan at his apex.
I did.
How did young players respond to Michael Jordan? He wanted vets. He didn't deal with no young players. There were no young players playing heavy minutes with Michael Jordan.
Well, LeBron accepted this. He came here for what? And what did I tell you? I told you from the start he was chasing Michael B. Jordan more than Michael Jordan because he came here in part for Hollywood. And that's what David's saying is he achieved his ultimate goal in Cleveland, in home area, Akron, obviously, and there was nothing left. And LeBron has talked about, well, I've done everything I really wanted to do. Whatever I do in L.A. would be icing on the cake. So LeBron has pretty much validated that premise.
But Skip, so why is he getting criticized for trying to get Anthony Davis to come to L.A. if that was the case?
Okay, well, obviously. Okay, well, he did need some help, but that brings up the other irony to the David Griffin nuclear blast because between the lines, this is also a parting shot at the player who desperately wanted out of New Orleans to get to LeBron. And David Griffin is basically saying to Anthony, be careful what you wish for. You're going to find how dangerously hard it is to coexist with LeBron, especially as his co-star. And the point was, LeBron wants all the credit and none of the blame. What have I been saying for years? I've been telling you that.
Bayless.
I've been telling you all this.
That's not true. Skip, you know that's not true because every time you talk about it, you say LeBron James is 3-6. I have yet to hear you say the Cavaliers and the Miami Heat are 3-6. You said LeBron James, just like you say Michael Jordan is 6-0 in NBA Finals. I have yet to hear you say the Chicago Bulls are 6-0. That's just the way it works, Skip Bayless. When you're
I'm only talking back to you because you have told me repeatedly LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. So let's just do superstar versus superstar. Best player ever versus quote unquote best player ever. So one's 6-0 and one is 3-6.
Oh, see, you see, but that's what happens.
No, do you see?
When you're one of these elite players, you get all the blame, you get all the criticism. Okay, LeBron James has a triple-double in Game 7, but did you see the shot Kyrie hit? LeBron James has a triple-double, but did you see Ray Allen saved his legacy?
He did.
Only LeBron James can have his legacy saved by a teammate doing his job. What was Ray Allen on the team for? To shoot and make threes. But now, all of a sudden, we hold that against him. See, David Griffin wanted to slide up under the radar. But when you play with LeBron James or when you play with Michael Jordan, Skip, was there tomorrow for Michael Jordan? Did anybody say, well, you know, Michael, in 2 years from now, once he started winning titles, it was title every single year or bust. Magic Johnson, every year or bust. Larry Bird, every year or bust. That's what the expectations are. David Griffin, so think about, let this sink in, Skip. David Griffin was there for 3 years, and he was miserable. LeBron James did it 8 straight years. The pressure, the anticipation, the expectations, and he handled it for 8 years, and David Griffin could not.
Okay, but what have I told you? Obviously, LeBron James is all-time great. He is also all-time hardest to play with. It's difficult because he is the drama king. It's a crisis a night with LeBron, and if there isn't one, he will create it. And I've told you from the start, and this is being echoed by David Griffin, that the GOAT, as you call him, does need a scapegoat. If it does go south, it's like, well, don't look at me, look at him and him and him. And the first one you are going to look at is going to be Anthony Davis. He's on the hottest seat in the NBA next year because he is the co-star to LeBron James. It's why Paul George said, I want no part of that. It's why number 2 said, I don't want any part of that. It's just too hard to live in LeBron's universe because he is the sun in that universe and he tends to melt everything around him. He's really good, but it's really hard to play with him and to win championships with him.
Let me ask you a question. Was it easy playing with Kobe Bryant?
Nope.
How many guys are going to say, was it easy playing with Michael Jordan? Was it easy playing with Magic Johnson?
Much easier with Michael.
No, it was not.
Yep.
Stop.
Oh, it was.
No.
It was business as usual every night. It was killer.
So let me ask you a question. It was so easy to play with Michael Jordan that he punched Steve Kerr in the eye.
Yeah.
What about Big Will Purdue?
Yep.
That was easy.
Vanderbilt University, 7 feet tall. Punched him right in the eye. Yep. It's motivation by fear. Everybody walked in fear of Michael Jordan, and it absolutely lifted that whole basketball team, that whole franchise, because they knew they were going to get Michael's best during the game, and they were definitely going to get Michael's best post-game. He didn't call people out post-game. He didn't try to deflect. If they lost, he took the brunt of the blame it on me. They loved playing with Michael Jordan. They feared him, but they loved it because it was going to be killer business as usual in a basketball context.
So because LeBron James, the expectation is, I expect you to do your job, and I expect you to do it at a high level, and if you don't, I'm not going to punch you in the face. I'm not going to punch you in the eye. I'm not going to say anything. There's this expectation.
I'll just call you out in the media. That's all he does.
Skip Bayless.
We're
How many
top
times
heavy
he called
as you
Kyrie
know
out?
what, said LeBron in New
Skip,
Orleans.
did he lie? Did he lie?
You can't say that. You can't just completely disrespect the bottom 3/4 of the roster. Jordan would never have done that, ever.
Skip, hold on, Skip. Do you realize what he was doing, all the players that they flipped over because they tried to get the roster better? They traded his best friend in Charles Oakley. Why did they do that? Because they thought Bill Cartwright could make the roster better.
And he did.
But see, nobody. Okay.
Okay.
But you're going to criticize LeBron James for wanting the best roster he possibly can have in order to go to and compete for a title?
Michael had
punish LeBron
no
for
say.
that. But
Michael had no say on personnel moves at all. They ignored him. Jerry Krause ignored him, which in the end is why it all blew up.
Skip, all I'm saying is that whether the team is doing what's in the best interest or LeBron James is trying to get the team to do what's in the best interest, at the end of the day, the results that we're trying to get is to get to and win an NBA title. Now, Skip, look, what we're starting to see here is that everybody wants the credit. Everybody wants to say, LeBron's like, well, hey, I'm a major role. Okay, give me some credit. David Griffin's like, well, I was pulling all the strings and LeBron listened to me. I need some credit. And the water boy said, did you see how I made that Gatorade? Not too much sugar. Hey, give me some credit. Skip, that's the way it works. You understand that. You've covered sports far too long to know that when you win, everybody takes more than their fair share of the credit. And I think that's what we have going on here is that David Griffin feels he didn't get enough of credit. But as you mentioned in the Shakespeare play Julius Caesar, this is when it was when Brutus did what he did that Julius Caesar finally gave up because he was fighting up until then. And he was saying, he said, you too, Brutus?
You too.
He just said, I'm done.
You stabbed me too.
I'm done. He said, Skip, I'm done.
You too, David
I can't
Griffin. You stabbed me?
Unlike Caesar, LeBron James is the John Paul Jones. I have yet begun to fight. Skip Bayless, if you think this man is going down without a fight, you're sadly mistaken. Now, I just want you to know the most dangerous animal is one that's wounded. Now, everybody's trying to take their pound of flesh from LeBron, but I can promise you this, and I don't normally make promises because promises are like pie crust, thin and easily broken. This is a commitment. LeBron James is on a mission, and he will get to the promised land, Skip Bayless. You watch, mark my words.
I'm marking it down right now because it's going down, down, down. And by the way, speaking of LeBron and tweets, his response tweet about the throne has been played with too much.
Yeah, they've been tinkering with the throne.
It's actually too T-O-O, but maybe he just typoed. I don't know. Maybe
Man, look at first of all, Skip Bayless. We're not look here.
Yeah.
We ain't coming here for no English lesson.
Okay.
We're not coming here for that.
Well, just quick point. Maybe he
did
typoed.
notice
Maybe
it.
he was just so furious. He was just typing so fast. He typed right over the second O, right?
There you
Do
go.
a proofread.
Skip
Okay.
Bayless, nobody ain't got time to be proofreading no text, no tweet.
All right. So now he's going to ether on all of his enemies and all the naysayers and doubters and backstabbers. And it took 9 fire emojis. 9?
A lot of emojis.
9?
Loves the emoji
What?
lately.
So,
Fire and brimstone.
okay, my first issue is with the throne. What throne? The throne has been abdicated. It's gone. He's 3-6, and he went 28 and 27 last year. Kevin Durant took the throne 2 years ago, to be honest with you. And fortunately for LeBron, there's going to be no Kevin next year, so it is wide open. But you know what? I get tired of this because I don't tell me, LeBron. Just show me. He keeps flexing his muscles. Comeback season for the ages. That was even before David Griffin. Don't tell me. Do it next year. Come out and show me.
Skip, do you find it ironic that LeBron James has stepped off a cliff in year 16 when he had 27, 8, and 8, and Kevin Durant, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard has never, ever in their life ever had a season like that? I mean, let that sink in for 1 second. LeBron James in year 16 stepped off a cliff. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Kevin Durant has never, ever in their NBA careers had one season let alone 2, because LeBron did it back-to-back, a season like that.
Speaking of back-to-back, Kevin Durant had back-to-back finals MVPs, case closed, throne abdicated to KD, which brings me back to DG, as in, no, I'm sorry, this is David Griffin. Yes, DG, yeah. David Griffin.
DG.
The point is, why would he do this now? What would motivate him? Well, this is my take on it. This is my 2 cents from a distance. I believe that David Griffin is feeling himself a little bit. He did hit the lottery in New Orleans, and I don't think he likes his new team. I think he loves it. And he talked about how inorganic it was in Cleveland because LeBron kept doing one-year deals, so you can't build around him. Well, now he's got the flip side of LeBron. He hit the lottery and got Zion, the un-LeBron, who plays with and moves with a joy that LeBron doesn't move with, at least anymore, where he's just so happy to be in New Orleans and happy to be built around. And you've got veterans on this team. When I look down the list, you got Drew Holiday, J.J. Redick, Derek Favors. You still got E'Twaun Moore, Jaleel Okafor, Melly, the Eurostar.
Those veterans, Derek Favors and J.J. Redick and E'Twaun Moore and all these guys, what have they ever won?
Okay, well, what are they about to win? Because then you added the rising stars, Lonzo B.I., Josh Hart, maybe not Josh Hart, a rising star, but a contributor. And then you got Zion and Jackson Hayes and Nickeil Alexander-Walker as the kids in the mix. And all of a sudden, it's an explosive mix. And the SI idea was, we're going to play faster than anybody. They're going to be must-see TV. And David Griffin's final salvo in the SI piece was, don't be surprised if I make a big trade at the trade deadline and people are going to say, what the F are you doing? He's going to try to win next year. Wow. That's how much he loves this team. So he is speaking from a position of strength.
Hold up. So in other words, you're willing to make moves in order to win, but because LeBron James kept that foot on your neck to constantly make moves to win, you had a problem with that. David Griffin kick rocks. Nobody listening to you. And you talk about these rising stars. The rising stars, that's when they have All-Star Weekend. When they have the rookies against the sophomores. That's the rising stars. You already know, Skip Bayless, but you're about to find out the hard way.
Well,
your head hard, but we'll show you.
David Griffin just kicked the biggest rock right in the back end.
There are a lot of layers to this story, and we are going to break it all down. But really, all week, it has been a tough one for the Cowboys. Our Skips Cowboys in big trouble. We'll discuss all the latest next. Don't forget, you can check us out every day on the Fox Sports Channel on SiriusXM. We will be right back.
No mercy.
Summertime is here, and while you may be breaking out that baseball cap for a day at the beach or the ballpark, if you're wearing it to hide thinning hair, you may not have to anymore. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. No waiting room, no awkward in-person doctor visits. Save hours by going to 4hims.com. And products are shipped directly to your door. Order now. Undisputed listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now, while supplies last. See website for full details and safety information. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or pharmacy. Go to 4hims.com/undisputed. That's FORHIMS.com/undisputed. 4hims.com/undisputed.
No mercy.
Ezekiel Elliott's holdout has now reached a full week. Yesterday, Jerry Jones was asked if there's a deadline to get a deal done, and he said, quote, "I don't see a point." He added, "When it comes to money, it has to fit our plan or it doesn't work with our house, and our house falls." Take a listen to more from Jerry yesterday.
When you worried about this not getting done?
I don't consider, no, I don't in any way, whenever ever not done one. You just keep plugging. I don't want to be a cliche, but it's what we tell these guys. It's just one foot in front of the other and go and do what you have to do the next play, which is put somebody else in there and just keep going.
Well, Shannon, should Cowboys fans feel encouraged or discouraged by Jerry's comments?
I think they should be discouraged because, Skip, Jerry Jones is talking tough publicly when there's really no reason to. Because if he's unconcerned, if he's unworried like he says he is, Skip, there's no reason for him to give you this tough talk. But Jerry is concerned because he knows Zeke is not about to take Devontae Freeman's type money, which is reset the market around $8-9 million. The market is going up. Whether you want to think it is or not, they're not going to allow you to reset the running back market lower than Le'Veon Bell, lower than Todd Gurley. You see, the thing is, Skip, Jerry Jones made a statement, I think it was early in the week, or maybe, it was early in the week, that you don't need a franchise running back or a league-leading running back to win the Super Bowl. He's right if you haven't built your team like that. When you go get 3 first-team offensive linemen in the first round, and they're first-team All-Pro, and you running back leads the league in carries 2 or 3 years in which he's been in the league, you're absolutely wrong. You see, Skip, I don't need flour to make a steak, but I need flour to make a biscuit. You need Zeke. You built your offense around Zeke, so you need him to run the football in order for you to be successful.
I need steak.
If you have,
I don't need a biscuit. I'll take the steak. So you can have the flour.
I know you. But the fact of the matter is, I'm just making an analogy of how you cook it. You're right. You might not need flour to make a steak, but you need it to make a biscuit. You might not need the league's leading rusher to win a Super Bowl if that's not the way you built your roster, if that's not the way you built your offensive team. But when you built your team around a sound running game with 3 first-team all-pro offensive linemen, yeah, you do. You kind of need that guy. And Jerry talking publicly, Skip, I don't get the benefit of it. It's like Zeke's like, oh, my God, did you hear what Jerry said? He's talking tough. Let me get on this plane back from Cabo. You know, he's down in Cabo. Yeah, he had a good old time. And get on back down to Oxnard so I can get in the training camp. It's not going to happen. Jerry, get ready to break bread if you want Zeke in camp.
So you're hopefully discouraged about all this. I think Cowboy fans should be discouraged, as in encouraged but somewhat discouraged, but in the end, encouraged. I know that's complicated, but Jerry's really complicated to try to decipher.
True.
But the key comment yesterday was when he looked sideways and said, when have I not gotten one done?
Yeah.
Seriously, when has he ever not gotten one done? Never. He always gets them done. Yeah. I'm going to say it one more time. What Jerry does best is money. Jerry's genius when it comes to money. Maybe not football decisions. Money, he's got it. Cap wizard. He will figure this out. It's just going to take a while. So he dug in harder yesterday, and he's just spitting facts back at Zeke. I don't have any timeline. There's no point, meaning no point of no return, where he's saying, well, there's going to be a deadline here. There's no deadline. Why is there no deadline? Because he has all the bargaining advantage. He's got all the leverage over Zeke. Zeke's got 2 years left on his contract, and then they could franchise him for 2 more years. That's 4 years.
Okay, Skip, to your point, though, you said Jerry said there's no timeline. If there's no timeline, why the tough talk?
Because he's just digging in. He's daring Zeke to stay in Cabo. And I told you from the start, I know Jerry Jones. You don't mess with him. You don't confront him publicly. You don't show him up by not showing up for camp and going to Cabo. You don't do it.
Yeah, we go to Cabo.
What did I tell you? You can attract more flies, as in dollars, with honey than vinegar, and he tried vinegar. And Jerry's playing vinegar. Okay, so
I like bees.
Fight fire with fire, says Jerry Jones. He's playing hardball now. And there was a later quote in this media session. I won't read the whole quote, but it brought up something that Jerry used to say to me in the 3 books that I wrote, much of them concerning Jerry Jones. And I spent literally hundreds of hours around him, interviewing, just hanging out with him. What was his favorite expression? How did he build his fortune? Drilling oil wells. What does it take? His motto in life is tolerance for ambiguity, meaning how much risk can you take? Most people can't take as much risk as Jerry took in the oil fields, because there was one a day that he's talked about flying into Love Field, in which the woman at the car counter, the rent car counter, took his credit card and took scissors and cut it in two because it was done. He was tapped out. So he went bust several times in the oil and gas business before he struck it rich. Wow. It's tolerance for ambiguity. So he's saying, I've done this a lot more than these players have. And he said, I don't want to see him try it. I don't want to see him cavalier about it. But he's just basically saying, I have the patience to wait these kids out. They haven't done this before. My whole life has been tolerance for ambiguity, meaning ambiguity, what might or might not happen. You have to be willing to risk it by being patient. Jerry is ultra patient.
You do, Skip, and that's the thing. That's the thing is that Zeke is that when you take this stance, you got to be willing to go the distance. But Skip, I don't know if you remember this. Jane Slater was on our show, who works for the, I think, NFL Network, and she covers the Cowboys, and she's all things Cowboy. She said something very interesting, and I don't know if you picked up on it. She's like, how broke is Zeke?
Picked up on it. I asked her about it a second time. Thank you.
What did I do? Skip, remember I told you, Skip? I said, financially, the Cowboys know where Zeke is. They've done their homework. They know Zeke has a house. Zeke has cars. Zeke probably got mama a house. So they know how long Zeke can play this thing out.
Agreed.
I've always felt that in order to hold out, you don't hold out, start thinking about holding out the year you're going to hold out. You start the year before, and you start putting your plans in place. So you said, okay, no extra expenses, because I'm going to be willing to miss checks, but I also understand that there are mortgages and car payments and things of that nature that must be paid. And if there's no money going in and money coming out, I need to have as much already stored up so when that money goes out, I'm not in a rush to get back. That's up, and that's what Jerry's talking about. Jerry says, I can do this, because did y'all see the Forbes? I got the most valuable franchise at $5 billion. I'm worth 6.2. So I got the stomach for this.
He does.
I'm not going to get seasick. I've been on this rocky ride before, and I've taken my Dramamine, so I'm good. I'm not going to lose my guts over this.
That's what he's saying. He's also obviously carefully analyzed the psyche of a Zeke versus, let's say, an Emmitt Smith, who obviously held out for the first two real games back in 1993, and they lost both. Then Jerry came to the deal with Emmitt.
Sure.
But Zeke, Emmitt was cheap, though, Skip. Emmitt didn't spend no money. Emmitt was cheap. Emmitt's always been cheap.
He saved his money. Agreed. Zeke, as opposed to Emmitt, and I was around Emmitt a lot, Zeke loves football. Zeke loves being around the fellas in the locker room and out on the practice field. Zeke loves to practice football. It's just fun for him. It's where he's most content in life. Emmitt, not so much. He didn't love practicing at all. He didn't want to practice at all. So, again, Emmitt was more built to hold out through two real games than Zeke is. And so Jerry's going to push this a little harder with Zeke. If Zeke, showed him, you want to play hardball? Okay, let's play hardball. And obviously, this is a three-pronged attack here for Jerry because he's got Dak, Amari, and Zeke. Well, who's more of a priority right now? Well, it's Dak, because he's in the last year of a contract that pays him a grand total of $2 million. So you better get that one done first. Okay, what's next? Amari's in the last year, but he seems very content right now practicing with the Cowboys. He's voicing no urgency for a new deal, but he's in the last year of a deal that pays him $13.9 million. Yeah, he's okay. Does he deserve $18 million or whatever else? Michael Thomas has got almost $20 million. Okay, fine, but he doesn't need it today. And then we get down to the third priority to me, which is Zeke, who's going to make 3.9 this year, 9.1 next year. So he's got 2 more years. So again, Jerry's pushing him down to third priority right now. And Jerry's just daring him basically to hold out. Do I want to see him hold out through a real game? I do not. Do I think he will? I do not. I think they will get these deals done in the order of Dak, Amari, and then Zeke.
Skip, I believe Jerry's overestimating his hand. Jerry's forgot the way he configured this ball club. Jerry built this ball club to be a running team first and then play action and everything else off the run game. So he's misplaying his hand, Skip. He might have pocket tens, but I believe Zeke has a better hand. Zeke got pocket jacks, pocket queens, or kings are better. So for Jerry to think, well, I got Dak. Dak's in a quarterback. He was only making $2 million, and he's in the very last year. Amari's playing on the option year. I got 2 more years of Zeke. But the way you've configured your team, Jerry, you built your team around what Zeke Elliott does really, really well, and that's run the football. And then when you can run it, you can play action off of it. There's a reason why, Skip Bayless, you said Dak Prescott, he took off once he got Amari. So in other words, as long as he got other great players around him, he can be a better player. He's dependent. You can say receivers play a dependent position, but your guy's dependent on the running game and Amari Cooper. So that's why Skip, if they thought Dak Prescott was what you think he is, why wouldn't they have already given him his money? How many guys have gotten money?
Quick question. Do you think Tom Brady is dependent on his run game? Do you think the Belichickian offensive philosophy isn't built around the run game? Because that's all they do. They run it more than they throw it every year, right?
But Skip, here's the thing. The thing is that they would rather have the ball in Sonny Michel's hand than Tom Brady's. This is why in the playoffs, they average a 162 a game. I know what Tom Brady can do, hence 5 Super Bowls, 4 MVPs. All things being equal, I would rather him hand it off to Sonny Michel. Let Sonny Michel get 4 or 5 yards a carry than have the ball in Tom Brady's hand.
Unless it's
on the Cowboys, it's reversed. Skip, on the Cowboys, it's reversed. They would rather have the ball in Dak Prescott's hand as opposed to having the ball in Zeke Elliott's stomach. Therein lies the difference
Just
between
remember,
the two.
Jerry got to see his quarterback throw parties against the Eagles twice and throw and run Seattle out of Jerry World in a playoff game. That's what he got to see last year. So he knows
and Zeke Elliott
he can
had
bank
100
on the
yards in
quarterback.
both of them.
Yeah, and then we got to the
And
Rams.
Zeke Elliott had career high in scrimmage yards against the Eagles. You remember that, Skip?
No, I don't. I remember Dak throwing for 331 in 2 fourth quarters. Yeah,
Those are the
that's all.
things you remember.
Yep.
Well, you know what, guys? This is perfect because we have more to talk about when it comes to Dak Prescott. He did not make the list.
No mercy.
Of the top 100 players in the league, which was voted on by other players. 15 quarterbacks did make the list, and yesterday Dak was asked how he feels about this. Take a listen.
100% it motivates me. Motivate you, makes that chip bigger. One of the biggest compliments is from a peer. So it's also, I guess you can take that the other way, as if when you're not getting it, it should motivate you, and it should motivate anybody. And even those guys on that list, I'm sure all of them are motivated for wanting to be higher. But yeah, when you see that list come out and there's 100 guys, it lights a fire.
All right, I'm glad he addressed this. Shannon, did you like that response from Dak?
I didn't like it. I loved it because he spoke open, he spoke honest, Skip. Because so many times, Skip, when we do what we do, we criticize or we offer critique or an analysis of a player. If the player doesn't like what we say, what's one of the first things they say, Skip? What do you know? You didn't play. And if you did play, how good were you? Dak gave it to you straight, unvarnished. He says, those are my peers. I take critiques. I take criticism. I take praise, adulation. I take from them because they know. They watch, they study, they play against me, and they didn't think I was a top 100. But hence, that's why we up in the field, Jenny. We're going to make it top 300 because I want to make sure I get him in 2020.
So now you take another shot, and I love it because Dak watches Undisputed, and he takes notes on what the Hall of Famer says about him.
But what do I know, Skip? I ain't playing. I'm an analysis. I'm an analyst. I've been analyzing for 15 years. I didn't even play football, Skip, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
A lot of people have forgotten you played football.
They did, Skip.
Yep.
But, Skip, I love it. To be honest, no, I was joking, all joking aside, Skip. I love that Dak said this, and I know it's going to motivate him because it hurts. It hurts you when the guys that you play against and that don't think you're that good, the reason why the Cowboys have success, it's almost like they're telling Dak, the Cowboys have success in spite of you. It's because of those linemen. It's because of Zeke. It's because of Amari. It's because of Vander Esch. It's because of Byron Jones. It's not you.
Byron Jones.
So he's because he made the list, Skip.
Did make the list.
And if, like Dak said that if you're on the list, you're probably disappointed. The only person that wasn't disappointed on that list is Aaron Donald because he's number one. Everybody else is like, man, I should have been higher.
Good point.
There's no way I should have been this one. And Dak is saying, not only should I have been, I'm not even on the list. You think, hold on, I want a division. I want a playoff game. I play the most important position, and I can't get on the list.
Yep.
Skip, he's very motivated, and it got me a little scared right now because, man, when a guy's motivated, man, ain't no telling what the list that he'll go to make sure this thing turns around, Skip. I'm a little nervous.
I told you yesterday that not making the top 100 for my quarterback was the single best thing that could have happened to my team because Dak Prescott responded, as we just saw, exactly like I told you he would respond. I remind you again, Landon Collins, then a Giant last year before Game 2, made the mistake of calling out Dak before that game and saying, we want to keep the ball in Dak's hands because it gives us a better chance to win the football game. Dak's response that day was challenge accepted. That's what he was saying here, as you just saw. Challenge accepted, National Football League, because the leader of the Dallas Cowboys just got called out by the league. The big game playmaker of the Dallas Cowboys just got called out by the whole league. The most underestimated quarterback in the National Football League just got dangerously underestimated by the whole league. Now Dak Prescott has 100 reasons to show the NFL next year just how wrong they were. And he actually has 101 reasons because on First Things First this morning, my man Bart Scott had something to say about my man Dak Prescott, and I can't wait to hear it right now.
Brady doesn't need anyone else on that offense to play well. Dak needs those two other guys.
He does. He doesn't throw it like Brady, obviously.
He needs a perfect situation to be a great quarterback or a second-tier quarterback. I'll let him walk and take Teddy Bridgewater, and you'll have a better football team.
The Cowboys take.
You give me Teddy Bridgewater right now, and the Cowboys are better.
Shiny suit
team.
man delivering takes.
Oh, man.
Ooh, that can't sit well with you.
Teddy Bridgewater?
Ooh, Skip, that hurt. That hurt, Skip.
Has Bart Scott watched my quarterback play? I like Teddy Bridgewater, though I was on record before the draft. You can look it up. I did not love him. He went the last pick of the first round to Minnesota, and with Norv Turner's guidance, he was the all-time perfect game manager for a very good football team, as you know, because it's your team. Very good defense, good receiving core. At that point, a decent running game. Game manager. My quarterback is a game breaker. My quarterback plays with much more fire and flair than Teddy ever thought about playing with. My quarterback is the alpha male in my locker room. Teddy just went along for the ride. He's a soft armor. He's a nice kid. I've been around him a little bit. I like him a lot.
For sure.
But he cannot carry Dak's you-know-what. I'm sorry, that's a preposterous statement for Bart Scott to make, that you would take Teddy Bridgewater over the guy who leads the NFL in game-winning drives over the last 3 years. Seriously?
Coin flip.
No.
Coin flip.
Wrong.
Coin flip.
Thank you, Bart.
Coin flip.
Coin flip?
Coin
Yeah.
flip.
Yeah, you'd probably take Teddy Bridgewater just because you're the king of the haters. That's the only king you have.
But look, Skip, Skip, all I said, I'm glad he said it, because so many times, what do players normally say? Well, it doesn't matter. Because that's what happens when media members vote where they don't know, they didn't play, and if they did play, they weren't any good. Dak can't say that, Skip, because these guys are currently playing. They currently play against him. Skip, if the guys that currently play against you don't know how good you are, that's a problem.
Operative words.
That's a problem,
don't
Skip.
know. I don't think they watch. A lot of times players don't really watch that much because they're they're playing their own game.
Don't do that, Skip. So now, whoa, Skip. Hold on, time out. There's games going on every week.
Yeah.
And so the Cowboys don't play anybody. So no one the Cowboy plays anybody else in the league.
I don't know. I guess they missed the 2 Philadelphia games. Did they miss them? I don't know. I want to know. Did they miss the 2 playoff games in which Dak Prescott had the best QBR in the whole postseason? Did they miss that? Bart must have missed those games. I don't know.
They didn't miss the Titans game. They didn't miss Seattle first time in Seattle. Did they miss that game, Skip?
Nope.
They didn't miss that one, did they?
Yeah. Who won the division?
Okay.
Did they miss that?
Okay.
Must have.
Okay.
Once Amari Cooper arrived and there was an actual credible receiving target for Dak Prescott, credible.
You do know
they took off.
You do know you're giving Bart's argument more credibility by
not.
saying the arrival of
he had nobody.
Amari Cooper.
He had a detrimental Des Bryant. You even admitted he shelved himself.
Tom Brady did that for years. Tom Brady did that for years.
Yeah.
Tom Brady did that for years with nobody.
So now we're comparing Dak to Tom. I kind of like it. Keep going.
You did
preaching.
it. You said you the one that said he's Brady-esque.
He is Brady-esque. They thrive off him. Playmaking and different than Tom because he can use his legs. Who made the plays of the game against Seattle? Go look it up, Bart Scott. Go look up playoff. Go look up passing percentage over the last 3 years. He set the all-time record. You tried to counter yesterday. Everybody was higher. Well, that means he's even high. He's all-time highest in an era when everybody's completing passes. He's completing even more than Brady and Breeze and anybody else you want to throw into the top five.
No. Stop, Skip. Tom Brady, you'd have to go back to 2000, 2001, 2002 to get that. You'd have to go to 1, 2, and 3 to get Drew Brees. Stop doing that. I see what you're doing, Skip. You think you slick. No. So are you saying that his completion percentage over the last 3 years is better than Drew Brees?
Well, it just was. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Oh, you mean Drew's first 3 years? Yeah.
Yes, Drew's first 3 years.
No.
But that was a different era of football. I'm talking about now. It's easier. Skip, you know it's easier to throw and complete passes. They protect the quarterback. They protect the receivers. You know that, Skip.
And
Why would you say that?
He did it with a liability, a handicap in Des Bryant.
Oh.
That's phenomenal.
There is no denying that Dak is going to be motivated this season. And Skip, I know you like where that is going. But someone else who might be motivated by some negative comments, LeBron, how upset should he be about David Griffin's comments and everything he said there? We will discuss that with Chris Broussard next.
No mercy.
Hey guys, Jenny Taft here to tell you a bit more about 23andMe. Sure, DNA testing can tell you about where your ancestors are from, but did you know it could also give you a lot of genetic information about your health and traits? Understand more about yourself today and inform how you live your life going forward. 23andMe tracks many conditions such as harmful blood clots. Some F2, F5 genes help you stop bleeding if you get hurt, while other versions of these genes can also increase the risk for harmful blood clots. 23andMe also tracks hereditary breast and ovarian cancer. There are thousands of BRCA variations that can increase the risk for certain cancers. Both men and women can be affected. 23andMe reports do not diagnose disease or describe overall likelihood of developing any disease. 23andMe tests selected genetic variants only. Visit 23andme.com/undisputed for important test information. Order your health and ancestry kit at 23andme.com/undisputed, and you can meet your genes in 125 personalized genetic reports. That's the number 23andme.com/undisputed. 23andme.com/undisputed.
No mercy.
David Griffin opened a lot of eyes when he told Sports Illustrated that he was miserable working with LeBron in Cleveland. He added, quote, "The reason is LeBron is getting all the credit and none of the blame, and that's not fun for people." After the article was released, LeBron tweeted this, all right, enough is enough. The throne has been played with too much, and I ain't for horseplay. Ether coming soon." We are joined by FS1 NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Chris, what are you hearing about all of this?
Well, this morning I have texted with David Griffin, and he said that a lot of his comments, or the comments in this article, were taken out of context. He said that the misery that he felt, in Cleveland came from the constant media scrutiny that, he went through being the GM for LeBron's teams. He also said that he is going to address this situation publicly later today. So I guess we'll get some type of statement or something from David Griffin later. As far as my reaction to the article, the way it was written, the thing that surprised me the most was the way it was put into this context, whether Griffin agrees with it or not, the way it was written, there was a great lack of appreciation for what LeBron James did for David Griffin. And that's really what surprised me the most. It came off like David Griffin would have been happier if LeBron had never come to Cleveland and he builds the team around Kyrie Irving, and it's all about, can we make the playoffs? Can we get to the second round? Then can we become a contender in the conference? Maybe can we get to the finals? Like, he would have been happier doing that and never winning the championship or getting to the finals than what he had with LeBron, which was 3 straight trips to the NBA Finals, the only championship in any major sport in the last 52 years for the city of Cleveland, Ohio. So that really surprised me the most. Look, Griff is a good GM. Nobody disputes that. But had LeBron never gone to Cleveland, and Griff had nothing to do with that. He likes Griff, but Griff had absolutely nothing to do with LeBron choosing to go back to the Cavaliers. If LeBron doesn't go back there and Griff builds up the team, the likelihood is that they probably never become a contender. They may never even make the playoffs. Griff eventually gets fired, and then he's not the sought-after and highly respected GM that he is now, and probably isn't the GM of the New Orleans Pelicans with what looks like a bright future right now. So that is what struck me. It just seemed like there was a real lack of appreciation, at least the way it was written, from David Griffin for what LeBron had done for him.
There is no lack of context, no out of context when misery is included in the discussion. And I agree with you, Chris, is that it seems to me he would have been much happier building this thing because, like he said, he used the word inorganic. Well, take your butt to Whole Foods, and they got all the organic food you want. He's like, this inorganic. So he would have been perfectly fine, because this is what I gather. And tell me if you agree with me, Chris. I gather, let me build it around Kyrie. If we get to the playoffs, that's fine and good. But if we never win a championship, I'm going to get the credit for building this. We get to the championship with LeBron James, I don't get none of the credit because everybody's saying this LeBron did this. LeBron put these pieces together. He only had to I wanted some younger guys, and we had to sign Mike Miller. We had to sign Kendrick Perkins. So it seems to me he's very unappreciative of the championship that I do not believe he would have got without LeBron. The other opportunities that he got because of LeBron, it seems to me that he wants to take shots from a distance now that he has a new position. The time to take the shot is when you're working for NBA TV. That's when you say, guys, look, I'm up here. Man, it was miserable. I mean, LeBron James signing one-year contracts, the constantly, the browbeating and yada, yada, yada. I had a terrible time. You don't wait till you go get you another job and you think you're sitting pretty. That, don't forget, LeBron James did, give you a nice recommendation, but that's neither here nor there. Don't forget where you came from, David Griffin. But you know what? I believe LeBron, he says ether's coming. I believe LeBron's going to take the high road. LeBron's door has always been open to players, coaches, and general managers. Name a player that didn't get paid that was around LeBron. Look at JR. Look at Tristan Thompson. Look at Kevin Love. Everything these guys do. Kevin Durant ain't have no media boardroom. That's a direct copy of Uninterrupted. Now all of a sudden these guys got media companies. Kevin Durant, Venture 35. Steph Curry. LeBron keeps his doors open, but everybody loves to take shots at the guy. That's all right. Your day coming. It's going to be a day of reckoning. When we hold up that trophy next year,
what
we got
trophy?
something for you.
For participation?
You know what? Larry O'Brien, in the words of Shaq, when you remember Chris, when Shaq won that trophy and he had that rap, he like, how my butt tastes, y'all? How it tastes.
Yeah. Is that what LeBron's going to say? Probably not.
Yep. I'm going to be right there with you.
Chris Broussard, you are telling me that David Griffin is going to crumble and walk it all back. He's going to backtrack on everything he said in this article. Is that where we're heading?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Skip, because one thing I wasn't surprised at with the article was the candidness that Griffin showed. Griff is a very candid guy. He speaks his mind. And so it's going to be interesting to see what he says. But, yeah, it appears that he's going to certainly walk some of it back. And if I may, Skip, quickly, but I know you want to get to your point. And you'll remember this because you were around those Bulls teams with Michael Jordan. Wasn't Jerry Krause very resentful that he never got credit for what he felt was building around Jordan and his contributions to those championship teams? Like, he didn't get credit for bringing in a Tony Kukoc and the other pieces that he put around
Harper.
Michael to win the championships. It was kind of like Jordan it was Jordan and the Jordan-airs, right?
Yep.
And when Jordan finally left with Phil Jackson, Krause was kind of relieved and happy that he was going to get to build a team the way he wanted to, and we've seen how that's worked out the last 20 years.
Remember, Krause pushed them all out the back door because he made it clear he was going to go hire Tim Floyd from Iowa State to replace the great Phil Jackson. And Michael said, I go where my coach goes, and if he's going out the door, I'm going out the door. And Michael stood by his word and, quote unquote, retired for 3 years before he went to Washington. So it was, Krause got his shot, and then what happened? Nothing happened. Okay, so back to these remarks. It's hard for me to see how you could take out of context a remark that LeBron got all the credit and none of the blame. I mean, that just stands by itself. It's hard to take out of context the fact that LeBron isn't the same animal, as he used the word, when it comes to winning. He wasn't as driven as he came to LA last year as he was in Cleveland to win a championship for his home area. Once it was won, David Griffin is telling the Sports Illustrated writer, that was all there was. And by the way, LeBron validated that last year in some remarks he made at Boston when he said, this is all just icing on the cake. I've done all I set out to do in the NBA. So I think he pretty much validated my premise that LeBron came to LA more to chase Michael B. Jordan in Hollywood than Michael Jordan on the basketball court. So I thought everything rang true in the article, except I was shocked that David Griffin actually said it. Is it possible, Chris, because you and I know this sports writing business, is it possible that Griff just thought he was off the record on some of this, and the SI writer, a young writer, just went on the record with some things that he thought were off the record?
Well, it's always possible. I mean, obviously, you don't want to accuse the writer of doing that. But, you know, when you write a magazine piece, it's a lot different than writing a newspaper article. You know, newspaper article, you don't spend as much time with them. A magazine piece, you really spend a lot of time with the person you're writing about. And it was an article about David Griffin. It really wasn't about, you're supposed to be about LeBron. It was about David Griffin. And so who knows how much time they spent together. But I know when I would write magazine articles, there would be times where the conversation would morph into something that really had nothing to do with, you know, the actual article.
Sure.
And sometimes the person would say stuff that was controversial and that would be great for the article. And I would say, hey, is that on the record? Can I use that? Because it got to a place where, you know, we're just kind of talking about all types of stuff. It's possible that happened. I think what's also possible, Skip, is that you know how it is for an article. I think Griffin, Griffin and LeBron have had a good relationship to the point where a few weeks ago, Griffin asked LeBron, Griffin asked LeBron to tweet out something about his wife's vineyard.
And he did.
And LeBron did it. He's got 43 million followers, so that's obviously big publicity.
It's the end of that.
So they've had a good relationship. It's possible, I think, that in the midst of the interview, Griffin said some favorable things about LeBron, and those just didn't make the article.
Maybe.
You know, maybe the writer went for the controversial quotes, and if that's what he was going for, he certainly got it.
But let me ask you a question. Let's be all the way 100. Sports Illustrated writing an article by David Griffin. Who reading that article? David Griffin says the article said he was miserable with LeBron James. Who's reading that article now? You guys in the writing biz. How does that work, Chris Broussard and Skip Bayless?
I got one. I'll read that article because of Zion Williamson. How about that? I got that for you because that's what I want to hear about right now.
But see, Skip Bayless. Stop it. Go ahead, Chris.
To your point, Skip, another thing that surprised me about the article was how Griff talked about the pressure and having to win, all the time, and how he didn't like how when he found out LeBron was coming, he fell on his floor in his office and cried. My thing is this. If Griff does a good job in New Orleans, and let's say Zion becomes what you and others think he can be, Skip, that pressure is coming. Yeah. Oh, it's a honeymoon period right now, but if Zion is this transcendent superstar, if the ex-Lakers, Lonzo and Ingram and these guys play well, then that pressure's coming for Griff. And you're going to have to, if not win championships, certainly compete for those championships. So you could take some of the things he said in the article as if he'd rather just be in some situation where nothing was expected. Mediocre. There was no pressure, right? If we make the playoffs, it's great. I'm celebrated.
No.
I would say, go ahead.
No, I'm not seeing that at all. He was saying with LeBron, he felt held hostage because LeBron kept going year to year. So you have no choice but to try to build just for that year, max out that year because he's on one-year deals. In Zion, he's got him for a while, obviously, and he can build around him. And if you read the SI article all the way to the bottom, he's not trying to deflect or run from the pressure. He's embracing it. He's begging for it. He's saying we're going to play the fastest of anybody in the league next year. He's basically saying we're must-see TV. He's saying that my team is much better than anybody thinks and that at the trade deadline, I'm going to make a deal. He said, you watch. Don't be surprised if I make a big deal at the trade deadline to make us even better. And he said people are going to say, what the F are you doing? Well, he's trying to win now, this coming year in New Orleans. That's not... say, let's slow play this for 5 years until we barely make the playoffs?
Skip Bayless, let's just say for the sake of argument, Zion Williams is everything you thought he would be and more.
And you don't.
Do you believe David Griffin is going to build his team around him or say, I don't care how great this man is, I'm just going to build a team the way I want to build it?
Well, he's going to build around him because he's not on one-year contract.
Okay, you had LeBron James. You build around great players. Stop playing.
Okay, but you can't build around 1 year, LeBron. You can only tweak. You can say, I'll get this vet and that vet. He's got kids coming of age. He's got those Lakers kids. He's got his own draft last year. He's still got a fairly young Drew Holiday, for that matter.
But see, the thing is what Zion and these young Lakers don't understand that LeBron understood at a very young age is that the only way to keep my foot on their throat and keep this pressure to make sure they do what they say they're going to do is for me to sign these one-year deals. Because the only threat I got, if I lock myself into 4 or 5 years, they're going to do, well, in year 3, they're like, nah, we good. But if I go year to year, if I do 1 plus an option or 2 plus an option, now I'm going to keep that pressure on your neck and I'm going to make sure you bring pieces in here that I want to compete every year. David Griffin, there is no summers off. There is no winters off. There is no all-star break for you. You must be on your grind on a daily basis.
You will be.
Anything else? Well, he got no choice. He didn't want to be that with LeBron. But for you, but for Brutus, that's his name. Brutus Griffin is no longer David Griffin. It's Brutus et tu Brutus because Skip, Do you realize we know who he is because of LeBron? We'd have never heard of no David Griffin if he doesn't go back to Cleveland. He's not getting this job if he didn't work with LeBron in Cleveland.
David Griffin just stabbed the king right in the back, and now he's trying to pull the knife back out like, well, I didn't do it.
Nah, we good.
Don't blame me.
We good. Nah, we good.
Huh.
I don't think LeBron's going to be tweeting out any more support
Probably
for any
not.
of
No.
family businesses
Bridge got
coming
burned.
up. Chris, thank you for joining us. We'll be waiting to hear from David Griffin, hopefully a statement coming from him later today.
I don't want to hear from him.
Thanks so much, Shannon. Appreciate that. I'm sure you want to tell us more about the Cowboys, though. Are their Super Bowl dreams already in trouble? We will discuss all that next.
No mercy.
There's a long list of Cowboys that want to get paid right now. At the top of that list is Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, and Amari Cooper. Dak and Amari are at camp, and they don't seem too worried about their contracts. But Zeke is hanging out in Cabo right about now. Wonder what he's up to. Yesterday, Jerry Jones said, quote, "When have I not been able to get a deal done?" We're joined now by Rob Parker. So, Rob, how much trouble is Jerry in with all of these contracts?
He's in a little trouble from the standpoint that I think I'm surprised that Jerry is not just going to take care of Ezekiel Elliott from the standpoint, this is the same guy that he went to bat for with the commissioner. Remember, even tried a coup to get Goodell out. He was so outraged about the suspension. So you have one of those situations. You're Jerry Jones trying to win a championship, which you haven't been able to do since when? Jimmy Johnson, Skip, right? He parted ways with Jimmy Johnson.
Yep.
Shannon, here it is. Your opportunity's there. Your window's open. Your championship biological clock is ticking, Jerry. What are you doing? And this is one of those situations where, yeah, he wasn't expecting this. You didn't expect Dak Prescott, Skip, in the fourth round to wind up being your franchise quarterback. So you made a trade. Amari Cooper came and was big time for you. And you know what? When you gave away a first-round pick, you expected you're going to have to pay some money for the guy.
Yep.
And now you have the best running back in the league. So you got to figure it all out. But to sit around and wait and play this game when you know Ezekiel Elliott is going to be the reason why you have a chance to win a Super Bowl or not. And I mean the number one reason. I get all the other pieces parts. He needs to get this done and stop playing around. Here's my problem. You wait, play that Emmitt Smith game, Skip. You were there, right? The first two games. You got an easy schedule. Giants, Washington, Miami. God forbid you go in not fully loaded, lose one or two of those games, and then you know what? It might cost you a bye. You might win the wild card rather than the division. You should go in this year fully loaded, expected. And I don't want to see Ezekiel Elliott in week 4, Skip, trying to get back into shape, playing shape. If I'm Jerry Jones, get it done. Pay the man. Just pay him.
Are you rooting for the Cowboys?
No, I'm not rooting for the Cowboys, but I'm rooting for Ezekiel Elliott to get paid because he's done nothing but produce since he's been here. And don't give me the off-the-field stuff. The Cowboys lead the league, other than maybe the Bengals and felons on their team. And you know this, Skip. Greg Hardy, he's gone out. You're not putting together a boys' choir. He's done it before. So you can't use that against Ezekiel Elliott now.
Okay. By the way, we have fellas. We don't have fellas.
You got fellas.
Yeah.
Better way to put it.
Skip, the thing is, I think the three guys, they have the leverage because they've outperformed their contracts. And the question is, Jerry, if all three guys had underperformed their contracts, would you have taken this long to cut them as you are taking this long to reward them for outperforming their contract? Absolutely not. You see, the thing is, Skip, you keep saying this is a great problem to have, and it would be if Zeke wasn't up, if Zeke had 3 years left, if Amari had 2 years left, if Dak had 3 years left. Yeah, that's a great problem to have coming down the road. It just so happens everything reached a crescendo basically at the exact same time. You built your team around your ability to run the football and play action off of that. That's why you took 3 linemen in the first round, and they turned out to be all pros. You compensated them. Ezekiel Elliott has led the league in rushing 2 of the 3 years, but he's led the league in yards per game since he's been in the league. And then you have Dak Prescott, a 4th-round pick that you thought was just going to hold the clipboard, sit behind Tony Romo. Tony Romo gets hurt, and yada, yada, yada. Next thing we know, Dak has played his way into $30+ million a year, probably $100 million guaranteed. Skip, you're asking for trouble by doing it this way. You're leaving a sour taste in guys' mouth because you got to pay Amari Cooper because you gave up a first-round pick. If you don't sign him, you basically forfeited your first-round pick of 2019. That's why and you knew this. You knew Amari was going into his contract, his option year on the contract. You knew Dak was in the last year, and you waited. You let Russell Wilson set another market. You set Aaron Rodgers, and then you let the guy walk it to him. Get $38 million with $108 million guaranteed. Skip, that's your market. You're in trouble. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Actually, I don't. But you better get it done or else.
So, Rob Parker, as you notice right now, my man Shannon Sharpe is in all his glory. He is so happy because he's on his way to Canton, Ohio. He's going to rub gold jacket elbows with all the other Hall of Famers. And you know what the topic du jour will be? How about them Cowboys? They're in big trouble now because Jerry can't pay all three of them, and Jerry's effing it up. And then Jerry's, right? That's all. That'll be the topic on everybody's lips because everybody wants to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Can't stop talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Unfortunately for you, Mr. Sharpe, it is only August the 2nd, right?
Yep.
I should say happy birthday, Ernestine, tomorrow, August 3rd.
Tomorrow, the 3rd.
Happy birthday, Tom Brady, because Ernestine, Tom Brady, they got that in common, greatness, right?
Tom Brady. Ernestine don't want you. First of all, Skip, Ernestine wants her own happy birthday.
Exactly.
She don't want to be combined with no Tom Brady. Stop that.
So I remind you, it's only August 2nd, and the season opener isn't until September the 8th? Huh. That's a long way away, right? What do you always tell me? He who laughs last laughs best. I will have the last 3 last laughs before September 8th because, as Jerry said yesterday, when have I not got one of these done? He always gets them done. When it comes to money, Jerry is genius. When it comes to salary cap, he invents loopholes. He creates new ways to get creative with the cap. And you'll sit back and say, how did he do that? Because Jerry has genius when it comes to money. Maybe not football decisions.
I'm glad you said that.
Okay, I'm not saying it. But when it comes to making money, spending money, genius. He has revolutionized the way he makes money within the confines of the National Football League. Am I right, Mr. Sharpe? He will figure this out. Again, Zeke went the wrong way. I told you this from the start because I know Jerry. Zeke should have showed up the first day in camp and buddied up to Jerry, and he would have gotten his deal much quicker and much better and much more easily if he had gone the easy way, the sweet way. I love you, Jerry, and Jerry'd love him back and give him his deal. Instead, Jerry's going to fight fire with fire. Zeke wants to play hardball. He wants to miss camp and go to Cabo. That's hardball for Jerry.
But, Skip, don't you think now, I think the running backs in this league, the CBA doesn't work for them. They have a shorter shelf life, and they're being, right, Shannon, they're being controlled through their first 5 years, and then after 5 years, teams don't want to pay these guys and say that they're worn out.
Whose fault
I'm
is
just
that?
saying
Is it Jerry's fault?
No, it's a union. I've said this to Shannon many times. It's like the worst union deal I've ever seen.
All right.
But for running backs, we saw Le'Veon do it, and now Melvin Gordon is doing the same thing right.
Okay.
So for running backs, I understand what he's doing.
Le'Veon just left all that money.
No,
what was it, $12 million on the table?
But he had 400 touches. He's worried he's going to get hurt, and then he doesn't get a deal at all.
Okay, but to your first point, remember, Jerry did go the distance for Zeke. He fought it. He put his reputation on the line for Ezekiel Elliott. And there's a quote from yesterday. He said, I felt strongly that Zeke had the high ground in the accusations against him. So he's done it every incident. He has fought for and protected and defended Ezekiel Elliott. And how did Zeke respond to that? By missing camp and going to Cabo. Jerry took that personally, so this has become a little bit personal.
But, Skip, we say it all the time. This is business. This is money. right? So I get it. Jerry trying to, Shannon, take up for him, but now this is money. I need to get paid.
But here's the thing, Robin, everybody knows, Jerry thought he had a Super Bowl contending team. That's why he was fighting for Ezekiel Elliott. Guilty or not, whether he believed it, yes or no, at the end of the day, he knows he has a much greater chance if Ezekiel Elliott is on the field running the football. Now, like you said, Skip, he went to bat for him. He put his reputation on the line. He tried to order a coup against the commissioner.
He did.
Tried to oust the commissioner.
Yep.
Tried to fight. Well, the commissioner making too much money. Now, Zeke wants some money. Oh, man, well, you don't need to pay running backs. The league has already said they're No. You don't get to have it both ways, Jerry. You don't get to fight for me in one instance because you want me on the field, and then when I take myself off the field, says, no, we can go ahead. We can win without him. We don't really need him like that.
Okay? All I got to say about Jerry Jones is Zeke has picked a battle he's going to lose, because if you fight for money with Jerry Jones, he's been doing, his quote yesterday was, I've done this a lot more than these players have, so I have more patience. He will wait this out.
Did Emmett lose?
Did he lose in the contract? I thought he took far less than I thought he was going to get.
Okay. I'm asking you, you're
I think
closer to
it was about 50-50 about, let's end this
But
thing.
Jerry came running back when they were 0-2 to start the year.
Well, it expedited things, I would say.
Okay.
And obviously, does Jerry need Zeke? Sure, he needs Zeke.
Yeah.
Will he get it done? Bottom line, yes. By September 8th, it will be done.
Right.
Yes. You need to know, because if not, you're in trouble.
You're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell
Well,
all those Hall of Famers I said hi.
The first person I'm going to find is Michael Irvin.
Okay,
He's the
good.
first guy I'm going to
Good.
find and tell him they're not going to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
You crazy. You Chris Sharpe. You crazy. We going. This
I know
idea.
Shannon's going to have a lot of stories for us when he gets back next weekend. We are moving on to David Griffin. Why'd he throw LeBron under the bus yesterday? This is getting interesting. We'll tell you next.
No mercy.
So here's the thing. We thought LeBron had a good relationship with his former Cavs GM, David Griffin, but probably not anymore. Griffin told Sports Illustrated that he was miserable working with LeBron in Cleveland. He added, quote, literally the moment we won the championship, I knew I was going to leave. There was no way I was going to stay for any amount of money. Griffin also said about LeBron, quote, I don't think he's the same animal anymore about winning. After the article was released, LeBron tweeted this. All right. Enough is enough. The throne has been played with too much, and I ain't for horseplay. Ether coming soon. And then plenty of emojis followed. Rob Parker is still with us. Rob, do you have a problem with these comments from Griffin?
Shannon, can you see me? Yes.
Yeah, I see your mug.
Of course not. I gotta say this. This is like, here's an old TV reference for you. Candid camera. Nobody could be more candid than David Griffin was. And what I mean by that is, this is like he didn't know he was talking to somebody, where he's just being honest in a conversation, talking to your best friend. These comments here are not what normally somebody would do if you're still in the business, still have to see that guy, still has to deal with somebody. These are really, really honest. And these are the things we've been talking about forever. LeBron never takes the blame. It's always somebody else. It's not fun. That's why players won't come play with him. And don't give me Anthony Davis because he's under the same management, agent management. Give me somebody who doesn't share the same agent, and then I'll buy that somebody wants to play with LeBron. And don't tell me about B and C grade players who are looking for a ring and all that who joined LeBron.
Well,
I'm talking about star players.
Who wanted to go play? Who wanted to go play with Kawhi? Did KD want to go? Did Kyrie or Jimmy Butler?
You mean the guy who just won a championship with no first round, with no lottery picks? That guy? No. All I know is Paul George didn't want to come back to Los Angeles to play with LeBron, but he came to the Clippers to play with with Kawhi.
Southern California. And don't give me that Southern California. Don't give me that Southern California that the Clippers was his favorite team, and that's why I don't want to hear that.
I'm not buying that either. I'm not buying that. I agree with you. Okay, so I'm not there. But I just thought David Griffin, a lot of the stuff that he talked about, I thought was spot on, really, really honest. I don't think he was just going after LeBron. He was being honest. To use the word miserable, he could say, it was tough to work with LeBron. LeBron wouldn't commit to the organization. Mm-hmm. He's asking us to make moves for 2 and 3 years down the road, and he's only committed to 1. Those are all honest takes on what he's talking about. But to use the term miserable, that's as candid as you can be, Shannon. That's not Mickey Mousing around. Yeah. So I love that he was honest in this situation for a guy who's still in the business. I didn't have any problem with it. Did LeBron have a problem? Will LeBron have a problem? I guess he won't be as friendly with them now after that stuff is.
I'd say not.
But I don't think that he went like after LeBron. I think he asked him some questions, and I think he was honest.
Well, my question is, so why do you need to have a press conference to offer clarifications? You said what you said, stand by what you said, and keep it moving. Why would he need to have a press conference, Rob Parker? Why is he sending out now that's not what he meant? Why would he do that? If you say you're going to stand, you stand on this. This is you having an honest conversation. Is there a reason to have a press conference to offer clarification?
Because that's where we are in this world. Everybody, it's
I ain't talking about no we.
People walk back stuff every day, Shannon, because they don't know how it plays. I think he was being honest, and then when it came out, and sometimes, Skip, you know this, things in print look totally different from when you say them.
They do.
And when people can go back and read it, you go, oh, you know what I mean?
It's hard. It can be hard in that sense.
I tell you what. Normally, when someone says they've been misquoted, they would say, "Play the transcript." Tell David Griffin to have that gentleman to release the transcript, so we'll have perfect context of what he said. You don't want that because it might even be worse than what the guy in print said. But anyway, with that being withstanding, he was without a job. He's working for NBA TV. Rob, why didn't he say that then? Why did he say that LeBron James had brought into the culture and that he won and you can win with a guy like that? See, I'm a guy, if I got something to say to you, I bet you $5 to a bucket of bull jive. I say it to your face. I ain't gonna wait till I'm away from you and to say this. You know exactly how Shannon Sharpe feels about basically everyone. I don't get behind no closed doors and say I'm taken out of context. No, this is how I feel. The man, hold on. When he didn't get the contract extension, LeBron James tweeted, "I appreciate you, Griff, even if no one else does." His wife tweeted 43 million Twitter followers about the winery, the vineyard, or whatever his wife had. Mm-hmm. Talk glowing praise about Griff. Gave him a recommendation. And this is the things that we get. No good deed goes unpunished.
Shannon, do you want people to be honest? I mean, and talk about it in life. I think sometimes
I want LeBron to be honest and say
sometimes it's not always as pretty as you think it is. And yes, they won a championship.
I want Bron to be honest and say, you know what? Griff was terrible. The only reason guys came was because of me. Because do you know what Griff was before? First of all, Griff got the job because Chris Plant got fired. Let's be real. We're going to get an opportunity to find out just how good of a general manager that he is. Now, you know the standard is, if he doesn't win a championship, now what, Rob? What are you going to say then? Oh, at least he's happy. I'd rather be happy than win. Is that what you're going to say, Rob?
I'm not going to say that. It's about winning. It is about winning.
Okay.
By the way, Shannon Sharpe, today you're hiding in a little box, so you're not saying it to our face. You're hiding in your little box. Where are you when we need you? Up here.
I'll be back Monday.
Yeah, okay. So you don't have the guts to say it to our face. You have to hide in your little box. Now, back to Jenny's question. Do I have a problem with what David? No, I don't have a problem. I've been saying the same things for years on television that he said in this article. I co-sign on all the points he made. LeBron wants all the credit, none of the blame, zero part of the blame. And again, has LeBron lost his zest for winning? Is he the winning animal he used to be in Cleveland before they broke through and got lucky and Draymond got suspended and they came from 3-1 down to win that championship for Cleveland? Nope, he's not been the same since then to me. But again, David said it. And where I'm going to have a huge problem is if he has a big press conference and says, I didn't say that, I didn't say that, and I didn't say that. or that's out of context, which I never quite understand because these quotes just stand alone.
I know.
to me.
I don't. What context do you need that he was miserable?
It's hard.
Right?
Okay.
That word says a lot.
Skip, it's like Charles Barkley being misquoted in his autobiography.
Right. Yeah.
How you get misquoted
He did
in
say
your
that.
own book?
He did say it.
He did say that. So we also might hear, and I'm not casting any aspersions on the young SI writer who conducted the interview and wrote the piece, but we might hear, I thought some of that was off the record. Well, then you said it and it got into print. Whose fault is that? The one thing I always loved about Jerry Jones, we spoke of in our last topic, was I did 3 books that heavily involved Jerry Jones. I spent literally hundreds of hours hanging out with him, just interviewing him.
Sure.
Sometimes I was taking notes, sometimes I was taping, and sometimes we were just talking. Jerry made it clear to me, whatever comes out of his mouth is quotable. Nothing is off the record. I'll just talk. Well, you got to respect that. And David Griffin, I think, is not a good talker. I think he's a great interview. And when he gets wound up and gets rolling, maybe he thought some of it was just in idle conversation with the writer that he was.
But you're talking to a writer. You know what I mean.
You've been there 1,000 times.
It's a hard position to be in.
Okay, there you go.
But the things that he talked about. Go ahead, Shannon. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, but Skip, he better not say he thought he was being off the record, because then context does not matter.
Nope.
Because you thought you was off the record, that's why you're saying you're trying to add context after the fact.
Yep.
And you're not going to be able to do that.
You're better off not having a press conference and just leaving it as it stands.
There you go.
But the stuff that he talked about, and this is LeBron, every time he loses, he doesn't have help. How can you expect him to win? No matter what they brought along, he doesn't have help. The other part, the Hollywood part, and LeBron said it himself when he won the championship. Remember on the tape, he said, that's when I became the GOAT. He basically said he was done, like that was his crowning moment. And when he came here, Skip, on this very show, what did I say? I said he came to L.A. to be Meryl Streep. He came here for the Hollywood part of it. It wasn't about basketball. But no, because, Shannon, this is the first time he came without a team in place. You remember, this was not LeBron. LeBron has never done that.
Let me ask you a question, Rob. David Griffin said he's a different animal. He doesn't have the same. But when they traded Kyrie and David Griffin was no longer the general manager, can you tell the people where LeBron James ended up at, Rob Parker?
What do you mean, where'd he end up? What, in the finals?
Oh, in the finals.
Yeah,
but he's not that same animal.
In the easy Eastern Conference, where LeBron had a cakewalk every year. Come on, Shannon. He came out to the West, and what happened? They couldn't even make the playoffs.
You see what you do? You see what you do, Rob? He goes, it's the easy conference. Now, he didn't demand that the Lakers go get a second superstar like Kawhi did. I have not heard Rob Parker say one thing about Kawhi demanding a second superstar. I have not heard Rob Parker say one thing about Paul George demanding a trade just like AD did with 2 years left on his contract. But you see what you did there, Rob Parker? I'm starting to see. You're starting to let that old Skip, you've been around Skip so long, you're starting to rub off on him. You're starting to look just like it. Everything that LeBron does, y'all look alike. Look alike. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I know it is.
I don't
Everything everything that LeBron says or does is bad. But when someone else does the exact same thing, Rob Parker, can you tell me the difference between what Kawhi did, telling the Clippers I need a second superstar in order for me to come, or Paul George going to Sam Presti saying I need you to trade me with 2 years left on my contract? Can you tell me the difference? And I say, you know what, Rob, you're right.
I get the old part about the adding another star, and nobody said LeBron shouldn't get. That was the plan, is that he was going to add another star to come with him. So that's nobody's against that. But what LeBron tries to do is stack the deck. He wanted Kawhi Leonard as well. He wanted 3 guys. That's what he did in Miami. He always wants the deck stacked. And he's the one who's created the imbalance in the NBA. The duos are great, Shannon.
Was the deck stacked in Golden State? Was the deck stacked in Boston?
Yes, well, LeBron started it. LeBron is the one who did that and made Golden State decide that they want to add Kevin Durant.
So let me ask you a question. So Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and Dennis Johnson, that's not a stacked deck.
Do you know how they got those players,
James
Shannon? You want me to give you a history lesson? You want to know about things called trades and drafting? It's totally different.
So in other words, as long as the team put it together, you can stack the deck. If the teams put it together.
No, but if I'm drafting well and I get these guys, it ain't the same as going and recruiting guys and creating an imbalance in the league. That's what we just had. The Warriors went to 5 straight NBA finals for the first time since the 50s.
Rob, it's different now. It's a different time. You got to get out of the 70s and 80s and look at to now. Guys are moving now. The likelihood of you seeing a Kobe Bryant, and I gave Skip a stat yesterday, of the active players, only 2 players have been on their team 10 years or more. Udonis Haslem and Steph Curry. Of the current 400 players, only 2. You see where this league is going at, Rob Parker?
Yes,
it's not the same.
I know it's not the same, but LeBron has had a big influence on a lot of people whenever you're that best guy. If LeBron never would have left Cleveland the first time, I'm telling you, KD would still be in OKC. A lot of these players, when you look at LeBron and see what he was able to do and say, okay, then these guys started to follow the leader.
By the way,
and a lot of guys got paid, too.
I did like the Meryl Streep reference. I never heard that, and I had to juggle that. But she does always get nominated, and she always loses.
Right. This is
Oh, okay. I like that.
Whatever, Skip Bayless. Yeah. Meryl Streep might be the greatest female actor of all time.
Yeah.
Now, Katharine Hepburn has 4 Oscars, but Meryl Streep is no slouch now.
No, she's no
there you
slouch.
go again.
But she's worse than 3 and 6 in the finals,
Oh,
right?
you guys.
Hold on, Skip Bayless. So in other words, as long as somebody has those Oscars, Daniel Day-Lewis has 3. He's not better than Denzel. I don't care what you say.
Okay,
He's
all
not
right,
better
I'll
than
buy that.
We're going all Hollywood on this discussion. Rob, thank you for joining us. Here's
Rob
the thing.
Parker, hater.
Big Ben is apparently a new guy. Why do I say this? Well, we'll tell you about it next.
No mercy.
It is a brand new year in Pittsburgh. Gone are Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, and now it's all about Ben Roethlisberger. Steelers tight end Vance McDonald said yesterday that Ben has been on fire in camp and added, quote, his whole approach and demeanor is completely different this year. And Ben said he's enjoying training camp more this year, adding, I'm not sure why, but I am. So, Shannon, what do you make of this? What is going on here?
Skip, Eddie. Eventually, you're going to listen to me. He's the same Ben Roethlisberger as he always has been. This is why he's not a great leader. He just cannot let this petty little beef that he has going on with Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, he can't let it go. It's his way of finally saying, yeah, guys, I'm still here. I'm having me a good time. You guys, you're in Oakland and you're in New York, but I'm still here. I don't know why I'm enjoying camp after 16 years, but I really am. I just can't put my finger on it. Come on, Skip. This is what I keep telling you. Ben Roethlisberger is not going to change. Is he a great football player? Absolutely. But he's one of the worst leaders that's a great player that they've ever been. And he just can't let it go. And hopefully, finally, I think that you're going to say, you know what, Shannon? You're right. He needs to just let this go, but he can't. Go ahead.
By the way, just a quick point of clarification. On Meryl Streep, she's 3 and 18 when it comes to nominations. So she's been nominated 21 total times. She won 3 times. Sophie's Choice, Kramer versus Kramer, Iron Lady. So she's way worse than LeBron, but LeBron-esque, so I like the analogy. I just wanted to point that out.
What about the nomination? That means she's putting herself in consideration.
Well,
you can't win it if you ain't in consideration.
Like she was playing in the Eastern Conference all those years. I don't know.
Whatever.
This is the first time Meryl Streep's ever been brought up on Undisputed.
But
I kind of like it, too.
I kind of like it. Now, back to Big Ben, who is going to have a big year this year. You heard it here first. You will hear it here last. I will be right about this because the deck did get cleared. I will agree with you to this point. I wish he would just stop talking about it, but I think he's fueled by it. I think he wants to, between the lines, say, I don't know why. I'm just so happy this year. And make it very clear to everybody on the outside looking in, we got rid of the two clouds that hung over this team, Le'Veon and obviously Antonio. And we are going forward with a whole new feel to this football team. And I loved what Vance McDonald said because his last line is, I think he's on fire. I think Ben will be on fire. I told you I'm going dark horse. I'm going long shot. You always go chalk for your MVP picks, though you're starting to have second thoughts about Andrew Luck now because it sounds like he's going to play no preseason games. But I'm going out on the limb. I said I like Ben to win the MVP in a huge bounce back year, although he led the NFL in completions and yards last year. So he had a pretty good year, I would say. Now, they didn't make the playoffs, but they had all kinds of issues. That was a divided football team.
He was one of the issues, Skip Bayless. The only difference between the Pittsburgh Steelers this year and last year as far as the locker room is that they do not have guys that will stand up for themselves. When Ben Roethlisberger criticized them publicly, all the other guys would drop their head and like, okay, Ben, you're right. Antonio Brown says, Le'Veon Bell would have said, Now, I don't know how Le'Veon got lumped into this because Le'Veon was out of sight, out of mind. Le'Veon didn't show up for one day, not for OTAs, not for minicamp, not for training camp, not for the season. And somehow he was a bad apple because he wanted his money, and he wasn't going to allow you to put 400 more touches on his body without adequately compensating him.
What did you tell me?
That's the problem that
What was your shock of the year last year? That whole locker room starting that whole offensive line turned on Le'Veon from day one, right? Where is he?
And you know what, Skip? That should have given you an indication of the problems that were brewing. And it came to a head. And see, because winning, not only is it a great deodorant, it can mask a lot of things. And what it masked with them winning is that the deep-rooted, seated issue that was going on in that locker room, mainly between the quarterback and the wide receiver, and I guess the offensive line and the running back. And when they started losing, it came to a head, and it ended up being Antonio Brown, who finished number 7 in the top 100, being traded. Let that sink in for just a second. But Skip,
I have no respect for the top 100, so go ahead.
Oh, you should have. You should have the ultimate respect for it. You should have the ultimate respect for it.
So the point is that all of a sudden it's a new day in Pittsburgh. They managed to pull off the steal of the first round of the draft. Devin Bush, University of Michigan, covered that team. She knows what a force field he can create on a defense.
Agree.
He will quickly become the alpha leader of the defense, which still has a lot of talent left on it. They did lead the NFL. They were co-leaders in sacks last year. And they have upgraded at several positions, but especially Devin Bush will become the driving force of the defense. Mike Tomlin's side of the ball, which has struggled and suffered under Mike Tomlin over the last 4 years, I think that will get fixed quickly. And offensively, I think Ben is on a mission to say, watch what I can do without Le'Veon and without Antonio going forward, because I still think there's a lot of talent there, starting with that young receiver, Juju. We've had him on our show. He's just high quality to me. He's one you can depend on and trust. And you say, but watch what happens when you're your solo number one. Well, I think he will rise and shine.
Yeah, well, he's going to have to show that he can. There's a reason why he was voted where he was, and even though he had more catches and more yards than Antonio Brown, but the players spoke, and they said he was Antonio Brown, AB, was substantially better than Juju. Now, Juju is going to get their attention. Can he handle it? We're about to find out, Skip. But why can't Ben just let it go, Skip? If you're a leader, so you see, again, he equates, as long as I win, I can say, I can do whatever I want. I can keep these petty beefs going. That's not leadership, Skip. He doesn't get that. That's why he's not a great leader.
By the way, the locker room spoke when it voted Juju the MVP last year, right?
You're right. That said a lot.
Yes.
That said a lot about the team.
By the way,
hold on,
hold
on, Skip Bayless.
Again.
You mean to tell me 5,100 yards, 5,100, he threw for the 7th most yards in NFL history. He had the high completion and yards, and his team didn't vote him the MVP. Shouldn't that tell you something?
Nope. Should tell me nothing.
It don't tell
they
you
love
nothing.
Juju.
And Jenny, should that tell you something? The quarterback, the most valuable, the most important player,
I'm
with
not
the
getting in the
7th
middle of
most
this,
passing
Jenny.
yards. Yeah, Skip Bayless.
By
What
the
it
way,
tell me
I'm
something?
so on the record with this one. I'm so far out on the limb. I'm also already picking Pittsburgh to win its opener at Foxborough. That's how much I like this team.
And you've been saying
I got the Patriots. I got Patriots. Come on, Patriots.
Yeah, come
Don't
on,
let me down,
Patriots.
Patriots.
Are we putting due on this one or not yet?
We will.
Got time?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
plenty of time.
Tom Brady gonna go for about. Tom will go for about 400. About 400.
Now he's on Tom's side.
He good for that.
We have to talk more about Ezekiel Elliott. Is he actually going to miss games this season? We will discuss with Greg Jennings next.
No mercy.
Ezekiel Elliott's holdout has now reached a full week. Yesterday, Jerry Jones was asked if there's a deadline to get a deal done, and he said, quote, "I don't see a point." He added, "When have I not been able to get a deal done?" We're joined by Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings. Greg, how long do you think it takes to get this deal done?
As long as it takes. No, it's for me, what Jerry said at the end of that quote, when has he not been able to get a deal done?
That's true.
It is very true. Like, especially when we're talking about important pieces of their puzzle, his stars, the ones who he knows represents that Dallas star more than anyone. And so I don't see this being a long problem. I think it's a process. I think what's making it longer than what Jerry would like is the fact that Ezekiel Elliott is not present or near to where we can have face-to-face conversation.
That is true.
Every time I've went and I've had a contract that was about to be up, I would go to Ted Thompson's office. We understood that there was going to be this back and forth.
And your agent was okay with this?
Absolutely. Okay. I trust my agent, but I also wanted my ownership and those in charge to know and see my posture, my disposition, and feel that. Like, I didn't want someone speaking for me. I knew that they were going to speak for me, but I wanted my message to be conveyed through my mouth, and then you guys do what you need to do. But what's interesting is Jerry Jones understands what he wants, and he wants to win. And in order to win, you need Ezekiel Elliott present. Now, the first 3 games of the season, Giants, Washington, Dolphins, some may look at those and say, you know what, they got those. Division games are never easy. And then you follow those 3 up, the Dolphins with New Orleans and then the Green Bay Packers.
Yep.
That is great when you get to that point if you have Ezekiel Elliott at a full-fledged level. But that's why you need him sooner rather than later. You got a new offensive coordinator. You're putting in new plays, new schemes. Like the rapport and the chemistry needs to be there moving forward. And if I'm Jason Garrett and I know my job is potentially on the line,
it is.
I need all my pieces here.
Yep.
Can you please get him here now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
My thing is, Skip, I would feel a lot better if Jerry felt like, okay, when have I not gotten it done? Why would he need to go scorched earth earlier in the week and says, you've seen that the NFL, that to win a league title, you don't need the league's leading rusher. Why would he go there? If he was so confident that he could get the deal done, why would he need to go scorched earth like that? You know, and Mike Freeman wrote a great article yesterday, like, he has execs around the league puzzled. Like, you know how your bread is buttered. Like I said, Greg, I used the analogy earlier. I said, well, you don't need flour to cook a steak, but you need flour to make biscuits. Well, if your offense is not centered around the running game, you don't need the league's leading rusher to win a title. But when you built your entire offense with 3 first-round draft picks at the offensive line and a number 4 overall pick at the running back position, you best believe you need that because if you had, you know, one of these other guys, say a Breeze or my homeboy Tom Brady, yeah, you probably don't. But since you don't even have a top 100 player playing quarterback, that's what the players have spoken. That's not me talking, Skip. I know you get upset at me when I talk, but the players spoke, and they say, no, you not 100. So you need Ezekiel Elliott. And Ezekiel Elliott says, I know y'all need me, because did you see that list? Did you see where I ranked? And did you see where everybody else ranked? Give me my money.
So, back to your analogy of steak, as I told you earlier, I don't want a biscuit, I want the steak. I want lean, low-fat steak, but I want steak. You can eat all the biscuits you want to eat, but I don't need flour, I just want the steak. Yeah. Jerry Jones wants the steak. He will have the steak. Greg is on the right path here because when it comes to playing hardball, when it comes to playing the game of blink, as in who blinks first, I promise you, Zeke will blink before Jerry. It's the way Zeke is built. He loves football. He loves to practice football. Emmitt Smith, back in his holdout days, he wasn't a big practice player, didn't like it, didn't particularly love playing football. He just loved Sunday and being a big star. Well, Zeke's different, built different, and it's going to be much harder as the days slowly pass in Cabo, and they're going to pass very slowly, more and more slowly.
Good old time. Yeah. I heard they have a good time in Cabo, Skip. I heard there'd be a good old time in Cabo this time of the year.
They say there is a state-of-the-art workout facility there that he is living in, so he should come back, and he came back in better shape after his 6-game suspension than he was before that. So Jerry said yesterday he's good with that. He has no... he's not worried at all. Not 1 ounce of concern about Zeke missing reps and not coming back in shape. But the point I want to refer to the Mike Freeman piece in Bleacher Report that execs are completely puzzled around the league by why Jerry would poison the negotiations. You're playing hardball. You started it. Zeke was the one who decided to hold out and go to Cabo. In your face, Jerry, and so Jerry said, "Okay." Well, the point is, we don't have to have a leading rusher to win the Super Bowl.
Jerry started it by not giving me my money. If you give me my money, break bread.
So, do you want Jerry just to go ahead and give Zeke $16 million a year, and then give Amari $22 million a year, and then give Dak $40 million a year? Is that what you want? Because it's impossible.
It is impossible, but I don't think he's gonna have to. But I do think he's gonna have to pay Ezekiel Elliott, because if we're looking at that franchise and the importance of who ranks the highest on the level of importance, it's Ezekiel Elliott. We understand the value of Dak Prescott and the leadership qualities and the alpha male mentality. He has that. He possesses all of that. And I believe after this season, with the season that I think and believe Dak Prescott is going to have, which I believe he's going to have a really successful year this year.
So do I.
If the Dallas Cowboys wait, they will have created an even greater issue. So you must take care of Ezekiel Elliott. And for me, again, I go back to just that rapport. What owner do we know in our league that has the rapport with his players the way that Jerry Jones does?
Nobody better.
No, and so I mean,
Nobody.
I don't care who you are across the league. Players talk and they have conversation. We know how we were drafted. We know that this is a great issue. We're a young team, but we're all coming up at the same time. But the difference between the Dallas Cowboys and most other organizations is players don't have that opportunity to talk to the one in charge on a daily basis.
Yes.
These guys have immediate and instant all-day access to Jerry Jones.
Yep.
And he welcomes it. Like, it's not an uncomfortable elevator ride for these guys because Jerry Jones is reaching out and looking for them. And so when you have that type of rapport, you know, and I believe Ezekiel Elliott truly knows, they're going to pay me. But when I'm asking, it may be a stretch. It may be more than what they're willing to do because of what I've done. And so I think if somebody, to your point, is going to blink, it will be Ezekiel Elliott, but he won't have to blink really hard because they're going to come close to what he wants.
You know who's in all his glory right now? Jerry Jones. This is what he loves the most about owning and operating a football team. This is his personal Super Bowl. Does he want to win another real Super Bowl? Yes, he does. But right now, he's in all his glory because this is what he does best. Negotiate against the cap. Cap wizardry. Loopholes. How do I creatively beat the cap and keep all three players happy? He is the best at doing this because he's already established rapport with all three players. they basically deep down like Jerry. Do they like their money more? Yes, they do, as Shannon always says. But they also, they have some love that's been created for their owner, which helps mitigate the circumstance. It takes a little bit of the fire out of it. It doesn't become quite as personal because Jerry's a pretty good guy. Shannon
Jerry
knows.
made
He's
it
hung
personal
around.
with Zeke. Yeah, I mean, he's great to hang around. But he's made it personal with Zeke. By Skip, there was no need for him to say, well, what we've seen throughout the league is that you don't need the league's leading rusher to win a title.
He just got stung after he fought for Zeke through all those off-the-field incidents. Then Zeke went to Cabo on him. That's no good.
What if you did all that?
Yeah, what did Jerry say yesterday? I have done this a lot more than these players have. He loves this. This is what he has lived for, these negotiations since 1989 when he bought the Cowboys. He is a veteran negotiator, and you have to have patience. You have to have what Jerry calls tolerance for ambiguity. You have to wait, and don't blink. And in the end, he's going to win his little personal Super Bowl by landing all three players to go win the Super Bowl.
And you've said that all along, Skip.
Yep.
This is his strength.
It's easier to wait in Cabo.
Oh, I guess so.
Is it? It gets lonely
But
down
at
there.
some point, he's going to want to get back into the mix.
He's definitely going to want to get back.
Greg, thank you so much for being with us today. Will LeBron turn back the clock this season? We'll discuss if that's even possible next.
No mercy.
Everyone is taking shots at LeBron now. His former GM, David Griffin, is the latest, saying he was miserable working with LeBron and adding, quote, I don't think he's the same animal anymore about winning. LeBron appeared to respond to that yesterday, tweeting, enough is enough. The throne has been played with too much. And Kyle Kuzma defended his teammate, telling ESPN, quote, this offseason, you see people slandering his name. But he's been super motivated this offseason between shooting movies. He is in the gym. So, Shannon, what do you expect from LeBron this season?
A virtuoso for the entire season. I expect him to be on his best behavior. Kyle Kuzma is absolutely right. There are a lot of people saying a lot of things about LeBron James. He stepped off a cliff. He's going into year 17. He's not the same guy. And then you get David Griffin, who LeBron thought was a good friend of his. But as I relayed to LeBron, people don't really change. Is that sometimes their mask falls off and we get an opportunity to see them for who and what they actually are. And I think that's what happened in this David Griffin situation. LeBron probably viewed him as a confidant, but then his mask accidentally fell off and LeBron got an opportunity to see who and what David Griffin actually was. But Kyle Kuzma's right. LeBron James, Skip, for the first time since 2010, he didn't play a basketball game in June. He took, the last 2 weeks of the season off because I think he missed the final 10 games. So he's had 3.5 months break from basketball to refresh, recharge his batteries. He coming back on a mission. Just like you say, Ben has something to prove. He wants to do this. Dak Prescott not being on the top 100 has something to prove. Can you imagine being the GOAT, being the best player in the NBA for the last decade, and then all of a sudden people say you stepped off a cliff? You're going to eat those words. Y'all going to pay dearly.
You know what I find amusing? Is that
what do you find amusing?
Kyle Kuzma is saying that the GOAT is getting slandered by everybody this offseason. Well,
yeah, he is.
How can he be the GOAT if everybody's going to slander him? Because, trust me, nobody ever slandered Michael Jordan, who is and was the GOAT. You know it, and I know it. Nobody
they didn't have
ever
social media back then, Skip.
negatively
It's not
about
the same.
Michael. They just didn't. I mean, everybody was just in awe of him because he deserved it, and he continued to earn it. And LeBron continues to have to tell us. It's like he's going to post on IG, comeback season for the ages. And then he responds to David Griffin by saying, ether. I'm bringing out the ether. I am the king. You cannot mess with that throne. What throne? He abdicated last year.
Go let it burn slow.
He went to Hollywood with no co-star, and we saw the result. He finally got hurt, and he went 28 and 27 in the games he actually started. That's not throne. That's not king emoji anymore. That's old news. That's prehistoric times for LeBron.
But I already know what the narrative going to be from Skip Bayless and others. Michael Jordan would have never needed a guy of Anthony Davis caliber to do this, to win a title. See, it's always going to be something.
I don't mind.
LeBron
That's
James.
fine.
Yeah, you do. Oh, yeah, you do.
No, well, I'm not that big an AD fan, so we'll see. I'm on record saying, yeah, he might be a good complementary player, but we'll see about that.
When LeBron does this, you're gonna find you know what, Skip Bayless? I already know what you're gonna do. Cause they're gonna win the title and you're gonna give all the credit to AD. Well, LeBron just went along for a great ride, just like he said he did with Kyrie. Kyrie hit the shot of shots.
Did he?
You see that shot?
Yeah,
Oh,
he did.
Oh, Ray Allen saved his legacy.
Did he not?
Hold on.
Fact.
Hold on. In Game 7 of the NBA Finals, when Metta World Peace hit that three-point shot against the Celtics,
That's fine.
Did that save Kobe's legacy?
I'll give you that. We're not talking about Kobe. We're talking about LeBron.
No, we talking about saving legacy. That's what we talking about. Stop
Okay.
trying to.
Legacy got saved by Ray Allen. You know it, and I know it. Okay?
Well,
so
guess
he's
what?
on record,
Well,
he's saying comeback season for the ages. I'm waiting to see because I only say on this show what I see on TV.
We will wait and see. Plenty to
Well, I'm going to see it in person.
Yeah, okay, good.
Fair enough. Enough LeBron for right now, guys. The NFL made a major rule change, and I have a feeling Shannon, I think he hates it.
Yep.
I'll tell you about it next.
No mercy.
Time for our final topic of the day. There is a big new rule in the NFL with teams now allowed to challenge pass interference. We saw it in action for the first time last night when a Broncos defensive back was called for pass interference. Denver challenged the call, but it was upheld. Shannon, what was your reaction to this?
Well, Skip, this was easy. I mean, this is not the Saints rule. If the flag had been thrown in New Orleans, this would be a moot point. It's when there is no flag thrown that you get the challenge. That's going to be the hard part. This was a very easy. This was a no-brainer right here. I mean, I think Coach Fangio just wanted to challenge and say, well, I'm the first guy to ever do this. But, Skip, what's going to be hard is that when there's no flag thrown, you think you're getting off the field on third down or fourth down, and all of a sudden, here comes the challenge flag, and I want to challenge a play over here on the side that nobody saw. That's going to be the headache.
So, by the way, you went into the Hall of Fame where you're about to go now, but you went in as a Denver Bronco, correct? And your new Denver Bronco coach last night embarrassed himself and maybe the organization because I loved the new rule, the new capability to challenge. I did not love the first ever challenge. And maybe Coach Fangio was having trouble with his kidney stone because he was suffering that last night. I don't know. Maybe it affected his thinking pattern because the Denver DB is holding his jersey. He's got his left hand up and is tugging on the jersey. What are you talking about? It was the most blatant, I'm not going to challenge this kind of call you could ever have because it was blatant pass interference. And it stood, why would you even slow down the game for that?
I thought it was going to be the offensive guy that challenged Skip because all of a sudden there was no flag when I think it was interference. I thought the offense would throw it. Why would you challenge? I mean, it was so obvious.
All right, guys. I'm embarrassed.
No mercy.
Thank you for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Keep an eye out for the weekend edition of the podcast tomorrow morning featuring this week's best segments. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.